There are many people who enjoy grabbing a sleeping bag and driving out into the middle of nowhere to brave the wilderness for a few nights, sleeping under the stars and doing God knows what. Usually these people are drawn to the outdoors. They like being around nature, deers, trees, and ticks. But some people like to take it a step further. They like to sleep in places that they shouldn't, places that they're not allowed to be. Tonight we're going to talk about the isolated incidents and reports of people that have seen weird and unusual things while partaking in a strange activity known as stealth camping. Stealth camping involves camping in a remote or hidden location, essentially anywhere that's not permitted for overnight camping. This can range anywhere from sleeping in public parks, under benches, even in stores in some cases. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of YouTube channels out there that have actually dedicated their channel to stealth camping. One of my favorite ones is Steve Wallace. I remember he was stealth camping in a roundabout one day, and it looks pretty fascinating. But with that being said, some of these stealth campers encounter odd and unusual things they weren't necessarily supposed to see. Anyways, let's continue with the stories. Back in 2014 in Madison, Wisconsin, a student was stealth camping under a covered bench along the lakeshore path. This path was a place that students would walk by every day, but at night it was relatively empty. After he sat up under the bench and laid down, he eventually fell asleep, but at 3:12 a.m., he woke up, not to a sound, but the feeling of being observed. He looked around, and across the gravel path, beneath a lamppost, stood a man. He wasn't walking, he wasn't on his phone, he wasn't even facing the camper. Instead, he had his back turned to him, staring out at the lake. With the fear of being caught, the camper just laid there under the bench, staring at the man, being as quiet as possible. After laying there for what seemed like 20 minutes, the camper reached into his pocket, grabbed his phone, and when he went to go record, the lamppost turned off. The camper was laying there in total darkness, wondering what would happen next, when all of a sudden the lamppost turned on, and when it did, the man was gone. After that happened, the camper frantically packed up all his things and just got out of there. And I guess the next day he was talking to one of the security guards and questioned if the campus police would patrol that area at all, and from what they said, they had no patrols walking that path at all. So who was it that the camper saw? I guess we'll never know. Maybe it was a ghost, or maybe it was some serial killer looking for his next victim. I guess it's a good thing that he was stealth camping and not just camping, you know? Back in March of 2018, a stealth camper was camping in a cluster of trees in Civic Center Park, Denver. As the man was laying in his spot getting ready to fall asleep, he was awoken by a voice that said,
"You can't sleep here tonight."
Terrified, the camper stood up and noticed a man standing several feet away from him, wearing what looked like a park uniform, but something was wrong. The man was standing perfectly still, almost too still, as if he wasn't human. Another strange thing was that it was below freezing that night, and the camper couldn't see the man's breath at all. He said he couldn't even see him breathing. And just like that, the man said once again,
"You can't stay here tonight."
Almost as if it was rehearsed. His voice sounded flat and low, just something unnatural, not how any normal person would talk. The camper complied, nodded, and reached down to pack up all his stuff, but when he looked back up, the man was gone. The camper packed up all his stuff and left, and the next day he called the park services, and they confirmed that there was no ranger on duty that night, so whatever the camper saw remains a mystery. Back in 2020 in Spokane, Washington, a stealth camper decided to camp in his van in a public parking garage. He drove up to the very top of the parking garage, put his van in park, and turned off all the lights so he wouldn't arouse suspicion. Eventually, the man fell asleep, but he was awoken at 2:40 a.m. by the sound of a laughing woman outside of his van. The camper was terrified by the laughing, and he decided not to investigate it and find out who or what it was, but he did notice that every 30 seconds, the laughing would start again. He claimed that the laugh would echo as if it was coming from every level of the garage all at once. All the man could do was just sit there terrified and probably piss himself, but he decided to pull out his phone and record the laughing as it was happening. Eventually, the laughing stopped, and when he decided that the coast was clear, he started up his van and hauled it out of there, and he never went back to that parking garage again. He claimed that the next day he listened to the audio back, and he noticed something different. He noticed a second voice behind the laughing, a low voice that said, "I'm above you." So whether it was some sort of prank from a woman cackling over a PA system, or maybe it was some sort of specter from beyond our realm of understanding that was toying with him, some sort of demon, but I guess we'll never know. And that's what's fun about these, you know? Leave it up to the imagination. Back in 2016 in Essex, England, a man was stealth camping on a closed public library grounds. He found this bundle of hedges that he could lay inside of that would keep him hidden from anybody that would happen to walk by. The man had a clear view of the library from where he was laying. He could see the outside wall with all the windows, and as he was falling asleep, he noticed something strange. The motion lights inside the library rooms were turning on from left to right as if someone was walking from room to room, but there were no doors that linked those rooms together, so it was almost as if someone or something was walking into each room consecutively, or maybe walking through the walls. Thinking that somebody was in the library, the man stood up to leave, but when he stood up, all the lights turned off. The man packed up all his stuff and got out of there as fast as he could, and the next day during the afternoon he drove back to the library to talk to one of the security guards. He mentioned that he drove by and he thought he saw something weird in the window, but the security guard confirmed that there was no reports of alerts, no motion detection at all. Nothing happened that night, there was nobody there. But whatever it may be, I choose to believe that it was a library ghost. I feel like most libraries have them, you know. Back in 2021 in a suburb of Columbus, Ohio, a man was stealth camping at a local bus station. He was sleeping behind a tree line behind the bus station when he heard fabric rustling and shoes walking on concrete. The footsteps were claimed to be pacing very quickly, as if someone was running or tap dancing. When the man looked out from where he was stealth camping, there was nobody there. The terminal was completely empty, but he could still hear the footsteps. The man packed up his things and left the bus station, never to return. This bus station is apparently known to have strange occurrences happen inside of it. Security says that they see shadows of people walking around inside the terminal on the security footage, but nobody's there. So whatever ghost is walking around this terminal in Columbus, Ohio, I hope they find a usable bus ticket and they finally get to go where they're trying to get. And the last one I'll talk about tonight was from a stealth camper that was camping in a park near Bath, England. The camper found this nice little alcove hidden between the tree and a few bushes by the stone walking path of the park. The man had a snack, a drink, and he fell asleep, but roughly around 2 a.m., the man had woken up to something terrifying. He heard the sound of footsteps, but he noticed something was wrong about them. These footsteps had rhythm, and there was no crunch of gravel beneath the feet, almost as if it was walking on some sort of boardwalk, but nothing of the sort was around. When the man looked up, he saw this tall, thin, glowing silhouette walking between two lampposts. The figure's legs were moving, but its feet never made contact with the ground. It was just gliding inches above the path. When the silhouette walked past the lamppost, the light dimmed, but it casted no shadow, almost as if it was just absorbing the light that it came in contact with. The camper stayed frozen in fear there until dawn, unsure of what he had just witnessed, until he was finally able to move and he left without hesitation. Weeks later, the man had actually returned to the park, and he was telling the locals about what he had just seen. A lady had told him there was this urban legend known as the Walking Monk, and apparently people have been seeing this entity for decades. So, who or whatever this Walking Monk is, I'm sure that that's what was witnessed by the camper that night. You know, stealth camping is one of those things where you just never really know who or what you're going to come in contact with, so if you ever decide to take up residence in your local park or behind a Walmart or even inside a Walmart, which would be pretty cool, just be aware that you're in a place that people aren't really supposed to be at night. And you might see things that are beyond your comprehension or something that you're just probably not meant to see, you know? So if any of you decide to go stealth camping in some strange and unusual place, let me know about it. So with that being said, thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good night. Bye. You kick ass.